everyone, we are back with our artist studio tour, and today we are featuring Jeannine Dabb. And we are going down in her basement where her studio is to meet up with Jeannine. Hey Jeannine!
Hi!
Thanks for
Welcome.
having us.
Welcome.
So I am super excited to be with Jeannine, and also
Danny.
We might see Danny make an appearance as well, so FYI. But so show us around your studio, and I recognize a lot of work in here because Jeannine had done a lot of pottery at Creative York a few years back. So I'll have Jeannine kind of talk about that first because it's some of her earlier work.
Absolutely. Well, this is my home away from home, which typically my studio was down at Market View Arts. I am now a senior at York College, and I am a fine arts major. And currently, what I'm going to show you here is things that I had worked on in the past prior to going back to school and what led me to go back to school.
Awesome.
This is a lot of my ceramic works that I had done with wonderful educators like Steph Holmes and the other teachers at Creative York. And this is sort of fun because it's just a mismatch of all my ceramic work and just fun creatures and pottery bowls that I had worked on and illustrative pottery pieces as well.
Very nice. So Jeannine had started taking a Tuesday clay class at Creative York, and she took it for a number of years. And I know at one point the class had their own exhibit when we had Creative York West. So some of these pieces were in that exhibit.
And that was sort of where my starts of painting came from as well. I had a history of painting when I was in high school at Dallastown. I was an art major when I was in school, and I actually went to college the first time at Western Maryland, which is now McDaniel. And I had gone for a year and a half, which I then left, came home, and decided to become an esthetician. And I did medical aesthetics for almost 20 years.
Which is a creative career as well.
Exactly. Lots of paramedical makeup and taking care of people who needed to basically recreate their image. And that was a whole different type of art, but this definitely led me into what I do now.
So coming back from college and working full-time as an esthetician, did you continue painting throughout that entire time, or did you go back to painting like?
No.
Okay. So because
I left art completely.
Okay.
I had left art completely when I left college, and so other than doing makeup artistry, which is an art form in itself.
Yeah.
But I left art, and my mother had gotten sick about 10 years ago, so luckily she's still with us, and it was a long road, but in her recovery I kind of had my own recovery, which was basically I started using Creative York as my creative outlet.
Okay. So like an art therapy to kind of deal
self-art
with
therapy.
Self-art therapy and what you're kind of going through. Yeah.
Exactly. And I have to say that Creative York was one of my places where I rekindled my love and my passion for art.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
I have to say that not only did it help heal my soul, it helped me drive into this career and this passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we know, different things that happen in our lives lead us in different paths. And I was at a place where my father decided to retire, which led me back to the choice of going back to school. And this is what...
So you were at a crossroads.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, everyone, to see, okay, she was taking pottery and then she was doing some painting when she got back into painting again, which is absolutely beautiful.
And what's funny about the painting is I had caught pneumonia, and this is before I even thought about going back to school, and I was forced to be home for 6 weeks. So in that time period, I just sat down and I started to paint. And it was like the floodgates opened and I just kept going with all of it.
Here's a piece that she created while
So-
this was
so-
Emerging Vision. So this
Yep.
was when you were in college.
Well, this is after I had applied to college.
Okay.
So I had applied to college, I had gotten accepted, and this was the show just immediately before I got started in school.
That's awesome.
And the koi pieces of
They
pottery,
were in there too.
they were in there
Yeah,
as
and the
well.
Emerging Visions. So, which is really, really cool.
And all these pieces are for sale.
Yes. So anyone interested in buying a piece, contact.
And these were also pieces that I had worked on, just fun, just on my own.
These are all earlier work, so you guys can kind of see where her work goes.
So, and come on in here. This is where I do a majority of my work. And this is the work that I do, the area that I work in.
This is her space
Um,
that she creates.
It used to be more of an office space area until COVID hit, and now it's definitely my home studio now.
Yeah.
Because
It's a great
as a
space.
college student, we weren't allowed back in Market View to our studio spaces. So it definitely created a situation that made me have to become mobile.
Yes.
And I apologize because my cat tends to be
Yes, the cat is still around everyone.
a little
so
bit
he's-
naughty.
Yes,
So part of the
likes
reason
to-
he's in a lot of my artwork.
Yes. So talk about these pieces, Jeannine.
Okay, so as I've been back in school, this was one of my plein air pieces. And to sort of give you an idea, before I had gone back to school, this was my oil painting that I had done for plein air the year before.
Yes.
So what's
that's
fun
the
is
year
to
before.
see, this is the year before,
Okay. And
I
then this is
transitioned
a year
back
after
the
for
year
plein air,
after.
which is so incredible.
And this
What a
won
difference.
second place that year.
This one. Okay.
Yeah. So it was
Lovely.
kind of exciting.
Yes.
So to say that your college has provided me with an opportunity to really grow as an artist, it really has.
Yes.
It's definitely launched me into being able to express myself as an artist, and also to be able to make my work more detailed, and it's changed me completely with how I process and how I work and how I think through my art.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's interesting to see how she was working, and even though she said she was back from realistic to abstract, now she's currently working on a piece. This is a self-portrait, and you can see such a difference in her work now. This is another self-portrait piece, right, Jeannine?
yes,
Down here from a year ago.
this
Or-
was the year before this piece.
So there's a year ago that she was working on, and now you guys can see she's definitely working, and a lot more layers. And Jeannine, if you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes.
That'd be great.
So most of my work is created in processes. And you'll see this also when we go over to the grotto, which is where I currently have my first solo show.
Exciting.
And it's very exciting. The way I work typically is I go to different locations, usually places that have some sort of meaning or attachment to me, or just even a moment that I just feel that something that speaks to me, and I will typically capture it in photo. And when I capture it in photo, I'll digitally manipulate different pieces. Like this is downtown. This is where the Appel Center is.
Yep.
And you can see different things that are
Yeah.
familiar.
Yep.
And I haven't made a piece after this, but I plan to. And you can see where I get different ideas, and I will process it. Either I will paint on this canvas, or I will just create something like this, which is like a watercolor
Yeah.
piece
This is very. I love this.
and idea.
And I love how this is like. I know where it's at, so I it's not totally like completely abstract, but it's on that kind of fence of.
And I think
Abstract
that's
and
why those
realistic, which
pieces
is
are
really
so
cool.
popular. And you'll see
okay.
some more of those downtown when we go downtown.
Okay.
I do a lot of commission pieces that are of that nature.
Yeah.
And that typically is popular because people know where it is.
Yeah.
And people have an emotional connection to those
Yeah,
locations.
That's true. Yeah.
And I think even for myself, it was just exciting to be downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So I've transitioned from these more rural landscapes that I've been so accustomed to because I grew up on a farm.
Right.
And I lived in the country.
Yeah.
Like there's a watercolor piece over here that probably
This piece here hanging
behind the
this one here, or no, it's not watercolor. Oh, down here.
Sorry, down here.
Down here, everybody.
That's all right. This is more like my
What you're
dog
used
on the
to.
farm and the pool.
Yeah. Very
So
cool.
I've gone from just very like familiar scenes to myself to the city,
Yes.
which is a whole different.
And here, what you're
Story.
working on, right here, is you were saying earlier that you're now looking at
This is a
your work,
COVID
how
zine.
it's- Yeah.
I have a whole series that's down at the grotto as well that you'll see in a few minutes. That basically shows since we've been in quarantine, this has been a collection of works that have been capturing sort of my inner feelings and thoughts that tend to be a chronicle of sorts
Okay.
of what's been taking place in the world, how it affects me, and a lot of my work, what you'll see is it seems very pretty in its presence,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the superficial layer of it.
Yes.
There's much more behind it
Yeah.
that people don't tend to realize, and you'll see that in a lot of the zines that are downtown
Cool.
because I express myself pretty thoroughly.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to see it.
And you won't just see it to understand how things bother me in the current state of world we live
Yeah.
in. And it's just sort of my own expression.
Yeah. And again, using your art as a therapy, I think, to deal with
Exactly.
what's going on in the world today as
Exactly.
well.
And
So,
that was part of a
that's good.
class that I had with Professor Fryer to make up for figure drawing, not in person.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was
That's awesome.
it was a good opportunity for us
So-
all to work.
And along with that piece around the corner, back to kind of where we started, there's some pieces that I want to show everybody before we go down to the grotto.
Because this will be a lead-in.
This is a lead in to what she, well,
That's
so
all right.
here's some of the,
So this is
Here.
basically a canvas of a digitally manipulated photo that I had printed out. And what I tend to do to get up ideas for my bigger abstractions is I will create these and then I will utilize that idea to then create a larger
big
piece.
piece. So here we have this is the small piece you worked on
Exactly.
to think about colors and,
To work on dynamic line and
Yeah.
shapes and colors, and I tend to go
So
with
big
brilliant
margins.
colors, big brilliant
Yeah.
colors, because
So
for
eye-catching.
me, that's another form of expression that I try to counteract all the negative energy that I tend to feel with
Yeah.
what's going on in the world today.
and then this piece I want to show you guys, I'm so close to it. It's a smaller scale, you guys get an idea.
And that's
And then-
Beaver Street, as we know, Beaver and
Beaver
Market, where Creative
We're
York is
familiar-
located.
Familiar with this street, and then here's her large piece from that smaller piece. So it's very interesting to see her process and how she goes about doing these large abstract works.
And it's funny because this particular painting I don't feel is finished, the one against the wall.
Oh, so this
Yeah,
one
this
is
one.
still, so she's still working on
So
this
I'll
one.
probably go back and I'll keep working on it, because a lot of times, when I just don't feel like something is finished or it's not quite right, I will just paint over it.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I will say that definitely being back in college has helped me not be afraid to mess things up. And
Which is
recreate
Yes.
and know that things don't have to go necessarily the way you plan it.
yeah, yeah.
And you can just recreate yourself and
That's
recreate
exactly
your work.
exactly, and like when you do artwork, that's the beauty of it. Sometimes mistakes lead to really great things. So, and that's what we like. Creative work. We say that to students all the time.
Yeah.
Don't worry about messing it up, because mistakes could come out to be a wonderful thing.
Exactly.
And then this piece right here, Jeannine, kind of sticks out too.
This
So,
has been fun.
curious about this guy.
This painting has transitioned a couple different times. It was originally just a a pour that I had done, and then I
Okay.
had done some stamping for a drawing class. And
Oh, okay.
then this transitioned to a palette piece.
Yeah, it's really
I
beautiful.
take a lot of I don't like to waste things, and I find beauty in things that aren't necessarily pretty to most. So what I like to do, and I also like the layers, so I've been kind of working with just texture and pieces, and what I've determined this year is if I get out of anything, I want to feel comfortable with just play.
Yes.
And feeling comfortable with pieces that have more meaning and not necessarily any real direction when I
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
So it'll come
Great.
to me as I go.
Well, thanks for having us in your home
Absolutely.
studio.
Thank
and
you.
I'm really excited for you to take us next to the grotto to see your first solo exhibit. So
Thank
super
you.
excited. So see everyone soon. Bye.